We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live. Teofimo, the Takeover Lopez, exposes Turki and gives specifics on what went wrong, why the fight with Devin Haney truly fell apart. In this video, I'm going to take you through it. I will let you hear it and give my thoughts. Let's get unpacked. Now, I guess it doesn't matter for the time being because I don't like to cry over spilled milk, but it's content, right? And there have been so many fights that have recently been hyped, been in talks, and fizzled out. It's very annoying. So I have to make this video. I like to document all of my thoughts. It helps me. It's therapeutic. Get it off of my chest and get paid. Luckily, I'm able to monetize my thoughts. Young dictionary, make words make sense. And it's just a process for me. And I love it. I love what I do. And I love being able to be an online content creator. And regarding Turki, there are some criticisms, if you will, that I've had early and often that I've expressed in these videos. And it's so funny because now, just now, people are getting to see what I was talking about. See, the thing about who I am, I'm always going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm a real one. I'm a man. A man has to be congruent with his values, his belief. So I can't just get jerked around and pushed around and read a script. That's just not who I am. But unfortunately, I'm the last of a dying breed, the last of the Mohicans. There are a lot of content creators who they're not really about nothing. They can be bought easily. They can be influenced. Like some of them, I don't even know if they're getting paid and they're groupied out. Really biased, favoritism. And I tell you all the time, there's a lot of low quality content in the boxing space, especially now. I've been in the game for many, many years. Before, there weren't that many people doing it. But with the explosion of the internet and podcasting and stuff, now everybody wants to be a YouTuber. And the problem is not everybody is qualified. Not everyone's willing to do a good job, right? Not everyone's knowledgeable. Not everyone has integrity, these types of things. Like I see it all the time. You'll have people like when it comes to, let's say Canelo and Crawford, right? This whole fight with Turki. They'll put out content where they say this, say that, say this, because that was kind of a roller coaster. September 12th on a Friday, then they said September 13th. They said Dana White was going to do it. Then they said Dana White wasn't going to do it. And there were so many variables. And what happens is you will have content creators who act like they're in the know and they'll say this. And then when new information comes out, they'll pivot and say this. And then when new information comes out, because with Turki events, this seems to be an ongoing issue. They'll pivot and it's just like they're bouncing around. And then it's like throwing ish on a wall, hoping that something will stick. And then when one thing sticks, when you've said 50 other things, then the content creators will be like, I told you so. Like what? Like, come on, bro. Like you have people who were saying Canelo Crawford was going to be in Saudi Arabia. You had people saying Canelo Crawford was going to be on DAZN. Some people were saying it was going to be on Netflix pay-per-view. And then what happens is people spitball and throw all these different concepts out. Teofimo and Devin, another example, where they'll say the fight's on and is signed, get ready, and start promoting the fight. And then days later, they said the fight's not on, it's not signed, it's not happening, the talks are off. And I feel that Turki and Ring in Riyadh season They have created this in the culture. Nobody else, from Eddie Hearn on his own, Top Rank, PBC, Golden Boy. I'm not talking, because I know some of those promoters work heavily with Turkey. When they're on their own, nobody's doing this, right? But under the ring, Riyadh season and Turkey umbrella, it's a lot of like hearsay, and it is so annoying. So when we get to Devin Haney and Teofimo, people are left with a lot of questions. What happened? I thought they were fighting. First, it was Teo and Boots. First, it was Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. I mean, at least Ryan Garcia lost his fight. The world's seen that. Rolly beat him fair and square. So that's at least a bit more understandable as to why Haney and Ryan probably wasn't going to be next. But there's just not good transparency overall. And when it comes to Devin Haney and Teo, a lot of people, they're confused. So Teofimo addressed the public again, which we're getting ready to listen to, and he explains his side. And spoiler alert, what he had to say actually makes sense. So I want to say this last thing before I show you this clip from Teo's social media live. If you're not fair, if you're not objective, if you're not willing to listen and use critical thinking, this is not the channel for you, because you already have your mind made up. Go watch a biased channel that's not going to keep it real, you know? And I'm talking primarily to just any biased fan like the Haneyacks. If Devin can do no wrong and you have Teofimo pegged as, I hate him because he's racist and this and that, so nothing he says is valid, then your mind's already made up. You might as well just hit the stop button on the video. But if you're open-minded, we'll listen to it and you tell me. So this is Teofimo and what he had to say regarding what happened in the Devin Haney fight. Roll the clip.
Am I taking the winner of Tank and Lamont Roach? It's a good question. I'm gonna keep it as a question. I don't like what's going on with Ice. That ain't right. I'll be real with y'all. That shit ain't right. So it's not that I don't want to fight Haney, guys. All right, I think I'm gonna publicly announce it right now. Okay, and this is not talking bad on Turki Al-Sheikh. This is not talking bad on any of the guys that was part of the deal. However, listen, I don't mind fighting anyone they put in front of me. However, I am a prize fighter. I am a person that is about principles. Sella and I, we signed fight 2 and 3 contract with X amount of dollars. And when it came to, before we actually signed the fight with Barboza, my team and I and my lawyers, we all came to an agreement for fight 2 and 3 being signed before we did fight 1. Okay, now, with that being said, we successfully did fight 1, which was against Barboza. Fight 2 includes, and I quote, Jerome Boots Ennis or any other fighter that is in that high calibrated level. Meaning, could be Haney, Rolando Romero, anyone that you guys want to see us face against. That was fight 2. That was signed and sealed with X amount of dollars that I will not express here because it's none of your damn business. When we came to fight 2, they Sella and Riyadh and all this said, we're not gonna pay you what we agreed on. for August. So there you have it. And the fact that they publicly announced the fight before I even signed the damn deal. Like, couldn't they just wait?
Now, I let you guys listen to it uninterrupted, and I did that for a specific reason so you guys can hear it. Now, Pensacola, we talk tonight. Bay Area, we talk tonight. We'll break it up right there. Let me paraphrase. Teofimo is alleging we had in place a 3-fight deal with Turkey's company Sela, Saudi Entertainment, right? The first fight went out without a hitch. Times Square, right? Times Square event. No problem there. We had that deal in place. We signed for 3 fights. First fight was kind of an introductory fight, still a champion, Barboza. But he said the second fight called for a high caliber opponent. So he said, and he listed names. He said Devin Haney would qualify for that. Rolando Romero would qualify for that, or Jerron Boots Ennis. So the second fight was going to be kind of a step up from opponent number 1, right? Opponent number 2 was going to be a bigger name, a name, more name in the boxing world, name recognized opponent, right? He said for X amount of dollars. He said, I'm not going to tell you my business and how much we negotiate. And I understand that because future deals, you know, you put the number out there. Now other people know the number and you don't need. And why should fans hear how much you're making? I mean, I understand that. So he said, I'm not going to tell you how much we agreed. But when it came time to do the second fight, he said, Turkey, they said, we're not paying you what we said we would pay you on the contract. Now, I don't know where y'all are from, but where I'm from, that would be a problem, right? I get it. Teofimo is unlikable. I don't condone none of his behavior, especially the stuff about black people. My channel has never contributed into any type of oppression or racism of any type. So that goes without saying. Peep my track record, right? However, he's making a valid point. And here's the thing. He said this multiple times. This is just the newest time he's saying it. And not one person has come out and said, Tio's a lie. He wasn't offered XYZ for fight number 2, and we offered him a lower amount. So, again, I don't know where y'all are from, but that would be a major issue. If somebody said, we're giving you $20 million for fight number 2, and then now they're saying fight number 2 will give you 7 or 11 million. No. Even though the public is like, oh man, that's great money. Take the 11 or take the 7. I mean, a lot of people that never made any type of real money, let alone $1 million, of course they're going to say, just take it. But if you're about principle and you have a brand and you've already made some money in the game, you're not going to just take anything, especially if somebody promised you another amount. So if what Teofimo is saying is true, which hasn't been refuted by anybody, right, on that side, that's a valid point. A lot of people are just like quick to say, oh, he ducked, he's scared, he don't want it. I don't know about what happened in the past at 35. That seemed more like a duck. But for this, if a mother trucker said, hey, I'm giving you 22 million for your second fight with us, and then they try to change the number, no, that's not gonna happen. Because Devin and Ryan were supposed to fight. Ryan, he fumbled the bag by losing. If I was Tio, I'd be like, that don't have nothing to do with me. And Tio is telling you, I would fight the Devin, I would fight Jerron Ennis, but that number you promised me, that got to be the number. That's a fair point. That's fair play. That's just being 100% honest. That is fair game. Then he talks about the other thing he didn't like, he says they started announcing the fight before, and he hadn't even signed the fight. So he's like, they trying to set me up. Like, I haven't even read through the contract, and they're already sending their minions through social media to pressure and like put an expectation out there that the fight is on. Why would they do that if you didn't have it? And the funny thing is, I gotta toot my own horn. I told y'all I'm really him. I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. From day one, I told you Turkey and Ring and Riyadh season, they are doing bad business when they prematurely blabbermouth these deals and you don't actually have a deal in place. This is, how do you not learn? This has come to bite you in the butt multiple times. You announced Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia fight before. You said the rematch is happening in October. But guess what? It's boxing, and one of the fighters didn't win. Now he has hand surgery, needs time off to clear his head and all that. So now we're not getting Haney Garcia in a rematch in October. That's your fault for telling. You didn't have to tell people. They said Canelo Crawford, Allegiant Stadium, Friday. Now they're like, oh, it's happening on Saturday. We have to change the date. And we don't know if it's going to be Allegiant Stadium, even though they announced it for Netflix. So what Teofimo is saying doesn't sound far-fetched. This is what they continue to do. Announce prematurely. They literally, the other day, announced Canelo Crawford in Vegas and on a date, but refused to tell you what venue it's at. Refused to put the tickets on sale. Why would you not just tidy up and sew up the venue issue, get the venue down, locked down, and then announce it? Why are you so frantic to announce it prematurely and then something comes up and you've already put out the wrong information? This makes no sense. So what Teo is saying sounds actually obvious because I've given you examples of where they're doing this. So he's like, why would they be promoting the fight, saying the fight is done, and I haven't even read through the contract? Listen, roll the clip.
For August. So there you have it. And the fact that they publicly announced the fight before I even signed the damn deal. Like, couldn't they just wait? I felt like part of me feels like I got kind of like jobbed in the sense of like, was the Boost fight even something that was happening or not? Was it or not? You know, or was this all a scheme to just put Haney in front of me because, you know, Haney's and Garcia messed up the bags for a rematch? Haney looked poor in his skill set. He looked poor. You know, he looked poor. His skill sets was shit. He didn't fight. He had a low punch count. I think they said one of the lowest punch counts in a 12-round fight, alongside with Shakur Stevenson. Ryan Garcia was injured going against Rolly, and he looked like doo-doo. I was the only one that performed and executed and tried to make everyone, excited. Just to come back with take it or leave it. I don't do well with take it or leave it, as I've had that in my past with Top Rank. So I felt like if we sign an agreement on a number and we stick to the assignment, just like they expect us as the fighters to, and I quote, do what they want us to do in that damn contract, including perpetuity, meaning they own our name in the cause of the event, and possibly a year, depending on the contract that you're signing. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes around. I ain't gonna wait. I'm grateful in my position right now. Staying ready, focused. you know, keep your shit spicy with these jalapeno chips. So there you have it. Who the fuck is gonna duck Haney? No, seriously. Did you not see his last fight? Kid doesn't want to fight. They've been piggybacking on my back of my name, but I'm not a big star. They're piggybacking on my fucking, excuse my language, but on my credits, but I'm not the main guy. So, you know, it's because I'm gonna tell you why this shit is like this. You know why it's like this? Because I can't be sold. I can't be sold. And one thing I learned is in this life, you can't sell yourself short neither. Can't sell yourself short neither. Hey guys, try to keep your messages to a minimum, por favor. Alright, because I can't read a full ass paragraph while I'm driving. I can get into an accident, and that's not what I need right now. Feel me, guys? Safety first. Read the title on the live. Safety first. However, I want to say thank you to Oscar De La Hoya. He's on the table, which I'm grateful for. Eddie Hearn, what up, baby? Eddie the Fetty. Al Heyman, send them checks. Somebody gotta be there. Somebody gotta promote that fight. Oh. And Top Rank, great job with Keyshawn Davis.
Wow. So that's Teofimo and what he has to say regarding it. And like I've been saying, for me, the points he made when he's being serious, that was valid. That was valid. I give credit where credit's due. That's valid. If you tell me this fight, my second fight, like, okay, what's the point of Turki and his company doing business like that? Signing a 3-fight deal, and then you discuss numbers prematurely and then say, hey, fight number 1 is this amount of money. Fight number 2 is this amount of money with this type of opponent. And you go over the parameters if you're not going to honor that. That doesn't even make sense. As opposed to you could have just did a one-off with Barbosa and say, we got to renegotiate. Like, do you guys not see the error of Turki and the inexperience? Let me break it down to you. In sports, if there's like an older athlete and they might still be good, you might be able to use them on the team, but they're not in their prime. In sports, what happens is, let's say Miami Heat and an older Ray Allen. This could come like because he's a veteran, he has experience with the Celtics, he's been in a movie, he's a great 3-point shooter. Let's sign Ray Allen, but what these companies do, these franchises do, is they put you on like a 1-year contract. Let's see how this season goes, and then maybe there's an option that we can have you for longer. Because some of these athletes, what if they're washed? What if you have them for 1 season and they play negative and they don't really benefit the team? Then now you can easily get rid of them. Thank you. We did the year. We're good, right? So shouldn't that be what Turki does in these situations? But Turki wants, like Eddie Hearn's already told you this. Turki has whatever resource and whatever money. Eddie Hearn says that Turki wants to make the big fights and he doesn't want it to last like weeks. He wants to go in a room in 30 minutes and make the fights. This is inexperience in the world of boxing because not all fights work like that. You have 2 different parties. They got teams and voices, and people in their ear. You got different egos. Like Terrence Crawford wants certain things. Canelo work. It don't work like that. You can't just go in a room with all these egos in the room, no pun intended, and hash out a deal easily in 30 minutes. And I know that's what he was shooting for, but it don't always work like that. Plus, another reason is dumb, what Teofimo is saying, to have signed somebody for fight number 2 and win over a number is because it's boxing. You don't know how someone's going to perform. So why would you bankroll it and sign somebody and already start discussing numbers for future fights, and then they perform poorly? Of course, you're not going to want to pay them. And I don't think Teofimo performed poorly versus Barbosa, but Ryan performed poorly, and it changed the whole trajectory of Haney was probably not going to fight Ryan now. And then it created another situation. You see what I'm saying? That Times Square card was a complete and utter failure. I try to tell y'all, I try to warn y'all. You made it sound like the ring was going to be in the middle of New York and millions of people would surround it. It's not what happened. You had barricades so people couldn't see from across the street. It was whack. It was like 200, 400 people there, right? Then the fights themselves didn't deliver. This is inexperience, people. I don't know what else to call it. Inexperience in this realm. You're trying to reinvent the wheel in Alcatraz and put fights in Times Square and fight back to back, one on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Your Allegiant Stadium, outer space, and Saturn's rings. You're trying to do all this elaborate stuff, and you got Snoop Dogg lookalikes, all this extra stuff. Turki and Crawford Madrimov, Eminem performing, and you got people with signs and lightsabers. Boxing don't require all this. I could assure you. And the thing that looks very sus is you had fans early on, and remember what I said earlier, a lot of low quality content and content creators where they'll throw ish on the wall hoping something sticks. A lot of these guys are now looking crunchy and they're changing their opinion. Like, man, why is Turki doing this? But they were the same people early on when it was premature saying Turki is saving boxing, right? Turki is making all the fights that I want to see and saving boxing and putting everyone else out of business. This is what they were saying 4 to 6 months ago. Now, Turki has showed, his personality a bit. Fights are falling apart, making weird decisions like to pull Bacoli on a moment's notice and Padley and all this stuff. Now, people are looking at it like, hey, I don't understand that move. How come these fights are falling apart? Da-da-da-da, right? These are the same individuals that have been telling you Turki's saving boxing. But now Turki put out a statement, and I went over it. I've already done a video about it. Check it on the channel. But Turki says, basically, I'm tired of these runners, and my company is not going to be in support of runners on our card. We want real fighters who leave it all on out there, and that's the only fights. It says, from this point on, I don't want to see any more Tom and Jerry type boxing matches where one fighter is running around the ring and the other is chasing him. We can no longer support these kind of fights at Riyadh season in the ring. We want to support fighters who leave it all in the ring and fight with heart and pride. Now, a lot of people believe that was aimed at fighters like Devin Haney, because look at his last performance with Jose Ramirez. Exactly what he described is the public and how they viewed that fight, and also William Skull, which happened on back-to-back nights. So clearly, Devin at least is being included because the description, it fits Devin's last fight perfectly, right? And I have a feeling Turki reads Reddit and Twitter, and he's reading and he's seeing the comments on Ring and social media posts. He's seeing what people are saying, and now he's like putting his foot down. We can no longer support this, which shows you that purse is tightening up. Turkey probably was embarrassed with having back-to-back cards that weren't publicly acclaimed. You know what I mean? It didn't help that video game. I just seen a report saying that SK video game is in the dumps and it ain't selling, right? So you did all this promotion for what? Nobody bought the video game and everybody hated the Fatal Fury cards except for the Inui card. And that was really a top rank promotion. Because Inui is ambassador, but he's a top ranked fighter in Honda or whoever else he has in Japan. So really, the Turkey events both flopped. Canelo Skull, and before that, the Devin Haney and Ryan Teofimo card, right? This is what happens when you're trying to reinvent the wheel. But again, notice, and I want y'all to peep, these are the same content creators that said Turkey was saving boxing, but now a lot of them are Haneyacks. Now that Turkey is taking shots indirectly at Devin Haney saying no more runners, now they have a bone to pick with Turkey. Ain't that funny? But then the boy ego, me, who told you from the jump, hey, some of this stuff is not making sense. Hey, why are they prematurely announcing fights before the contracts are signed and posting it on Ring? Remember with Canelo, they said Canelo Crawford, the negotiations are on. And then 24 hours later, they said negotiations are over, and everyone made fun of it and was like, wow. And then they said, oh, Canelo came back to the table. This makes you look disorganized and very unprofessional. When you keep saying on, off, on, off, start, stop, on, off, like fans they're going to stop caring. And then now fast forward to the future, the same content creators that said Turkey has all the money in the world and he's saving boxing. Why are we having money issues preventing fights? You as fans need to ask the content creators. Remember, I'm talking about December of last year when around that time, Turkey announced the February 22nd card with Better Biev and Bivol and Joseph Parker and Dubois and Shakur in these fights. When that card got announced right around that time, these content creators, right, they were saying that was the best card in boxing history. Remember that? I see the reason why people keep coming back to my channel is in the end, they see Boxing Ego was right. These people were saying that was the best card that they had ever heard of in boxing history. Your boy Ego never said that because I never believed that. And I was like, that's impossible. I've seen so many great cards. Now, I'm not mad at the card, but I'm not going to go that far and say it's the greatest card. Don King was doing cards like that like twice a month. You know what I mean? And better because they were like hungry fighters that wanted to fight and it wasn't just about money and politics and stuff like that. So different era. But again, you as fans need to go back to these content creators who fed you a dream and said Turkey saving boxing, said that February 22nd is the greatest card in boxing history. No one's even talking about that card. Then you look at other cards, they said, oh, the triple header with Ryan and Devin, this is amazing. We're never seeing nothing like that. Now everyone hated the fight. And then again, when Crawford Madrimov was reported to have lost over $10 million, which I told you it flopped, the fans and content creators, they said to me or put out content, Turkey doesn't care about losing money. I'm like, what kind of business don't care about losing 10 million plus? They said it's not about that. He just wants to see good fights. He just is such a fan of boxing. This is what they try to sell me. He's such a fan of boxing, he don't care about losing tens of millions of dollars in a single night. Money is no object to him. So fast forward to the future. The people who told you that. Why is Teofimo now saying, I was willing to fight Devin or Jaron Ennis? Jaron Ennis, I guess, passed up on the opportunity for whatever reason. Maybe he's moving up in weight. but I was going to fight Devin Haney, but they tried to slip me a different number that wasn't agreed upon. I thought Turki had endless buku bucks where he was eliminating this type of problem. Now it sounds like somebody is upset. He's literally saying we're no longer accepting Tom and Jerry style of fights, which I don't even want to get to because I'll just rant all day. That statement is foolish. I understand the intent, but it's foolish because it's boxing. You can't stop. You're not in the ring. You can't stop somebody from quitting. You can't stop some. Okay, if a person is hitting you, and I'm hearing these fighters like depict. I have a fighter that told me Pacquiao sparred him, and it felt like he was hitting me with bricks. It's an interview I did. This is exactly what he said. When Pacquiao sparred me with bigger gloves, it felt like he had bricks. So imagine someone like Turki saying we don't want guys running around and fighting this style and that style. You can't control that in boxing. If a person is hitting you and it feels like sledgehammers and bricks, like, what are you going to do? You're going to not pay them and break the contract and then they sue you? Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's unfortunate when the fight sucks and fighters don't deliver in terms of the performance. But again, what can you do? What can you do about that? You don't really have much recourse. Some fights live up to expectation and hype. Some fights don't. But you can't really police that. You can't say like, I command you. This is not the Roman gladiator. Like you could just off somebody if they're not willing to fight a rhinoceros. You know what I mean? So I didn't even understand this statement. Like Devin Haney and like for real, see, I'm about to go off. Y'all don't want this. I promise you. This ain't what you want because y'all don't know boxing and I'm sick of it. You have to also blame Turki because it's his fault. Let me explain. I know something. What do you mean it's his fault? Let me explain. The reason it's his fault is Devin got battered by Ryan Garcia. You overpaid him and then also said beat Jose Ramirez an interim fight and you guaranteed have a Ryan Garcia rematch. So Devin, to get to this bag and this paycheck, knows he has to get past Jose Ramirez. So why would you want to chance it coming off of the hell in which you came, the Ryan Garcia fight, where you still have to cobwebs and a year off? You're fighting at a catch weight, so a higher weight than what you're used to. Why are you going to why would, as a matchmaker, why would you assume that you were going to see a preserved, fresh, hungry version of Devin when he was literally off of a performance that he looked so bad and he was hurt multiple times and then took a year off? So that, to me, I said from the beginning, don't be surprised. How is it that I predicted that? I said, don't be surprised if Devin don't look like the same fighter. And guess what? The way he fought against Ramirez, he didn't look like the same fighter. So yet again, I continue to be right. So while Turki is kind of blaming the Devin Haneys and the William Skulls, it's kind of your fault too, or your company's fault, because they're the matches you're making. And if you draw it out, it's clear to see that a person coming off of a fight like what Devin came off of would probably be somewhat compromised or weary, especially if they have to clear this obstacle and you're dangling this Ryan Garcia rematch and big paycheck over their head. Now it's all FUBAR, right? So it's like this aggressive style of matchmaking. That's your problem. You've seen, like, let's say Top Rank. Top Rank had Jared Big Baby Anderson. They told him not to take the Bacoli fight. He seen the money and did it anyway, gets knocked out. And then when he gets back to Top Rank, they put him in with a tune-up fight. That's if you're trying to if you're trying to extend your fighter's shelf life, that's what you do. That Bakoli fight was very nasty for Big Baby Anderson. So, yeah, you could put him in with Daniel Dubois, but then if he loses, it's a once and done. Back-to-back losses, like knockout losses, your career's in shambles. So Turki doesn't get that. Obviously, he's going to put Devin in an interim fight, and he's going to put him at a new weight, and then the promise of a Ryan rematch hanging over his head, and then you're wondering why he fought tentative. There's a lot of pressure on him. You know what I mean? So this whole thing is funny. And then back to what I was saying, they said Turki has unlimited money. Then why can't you get the Teofimo Haney done? And Teo, from what he's saying, he just wants the number that you said you were willing to pay for him. So what changed? So maybe the people above who Turki has is in cahoots with, maybe they're like, nah, we don't want these type of fights, or we're not cashing out unless it's like monumental stuff. And this is exactly what I predicted was going to happen. There's no business. I don't care how rich you are. It does not matter to me. There's no rich person or business that wants to continually and perpetually lose money. Like a billionaire, he could have $30 billion, but if he keeps seeing loss after loss after loss, like why would anybody want that? Right? I know people who have money and they have a restaurant, and with Trump doing the tariffs and stuff, now the supplies are harder to get and more expensive. They'll close the whole restaurant. You know what I mean? So you will see a lot of restaurants closing or businesses in general, because people are looking at it. I can't get the supplies for the low. There's different tariffs and taxes on it. It's not worth it. So again, smart business people, they'll just pull the knife out, pull the dagger out, and cut their losses immediately. That's why you see companies file for like liquidations and bankruptcies and Chapter 7s and whatnot, because they're not going to just sit and bleed money and hemorrhage money. It doesn't make sense. So it looks like we're at a point where the bankroll is slowing up. Like you put on Fatal Fury and did not get a positive response from the public. You put on Canelo, you had to pay him all this money for Skull, and this was a terrible fight. Literally back-to-back nights where between Devin's fight, Ryan's fight, and Canelo's fight, you set records for like 3 of the top 5 fights with the fewest amount of punches. So that's another thing with Teofimo. Teo and Rolly are the only people that really shined on that card in the main 3 fights. Rolly Romero, because he was the underdog and he won and dropped Ryan, and Teofimo looked pretty sharp as well. So I actually understand where Teo's coming from. He like, you trying to set me up with Devin. Like, how does he get preferential treatment? He didn't even look good in his fight. I did look good in my fight. And you're not trying to give me the number that we agreed upon. That makes perfect sense. I don't care what none of y'all talk about. I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. We unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.